Gotta be true to yourself. In a world there's nothing else. Gotta play the game right, gotta make your path. You scratch, you dig, you lay in your ground. You bustin' your rounds, nobody gon' stop you. No ops, no cops, everything about you. Looking good, you good, she good. Y'all people really wanna know the reason? It's that ripple effect. That's just that ripple. That's just that ripple effect. What you do, come back triple.
Hey, what's going on? It's your girl Kate out back in Ripple Effect. You already know what it is, and you already know the vibe. Shout out to all the supporters, especially our day ones. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys engaging on social media. It's going back and forth, and definitely hearing all these different perspectives. I appreciate it, but you already know we got to get right into it. Yeah, I got the gear on, so you already know. My Knicks, man, we have to even it up. Jimmy Butler's not playing in Game 2 tonight, so that's good. That's huge. But at the same time, I kind of hate it when, when you hear that right before a game, mainly for the team, because I don't want them to get complacent. I mean, that's the same exact thing what happened to the Celtics with Philly, right? It's almost like they found out Embiid wasn't playing, and they relaxed. They took their foot off the gas, We can keep going, right? The Celtics also made that same mistake with the Atlanta Hawks when they found out DeJounte Murray wasn't playing, and they were able to force that Game 6. So now you see where I'm going with this. We're playing at home. It's a huge game for, obviously, because we lost the first one. But you always want to take care of home. I mean, obviously, we did lose home court advantage by losing that first game. But all is not lost because I had this going, to at least 6 or 7 games. So all is not lost when it comes to that. So you knew that they were going to lose at some point. And it was close. It was close. We just need to make some adjustments, right? In terms of what was going on. I mean, it was close in terms of we were right there. We were right there. Costly mistakes, and Jimmy Butler definitely put on a show. I don't think we were expecting that. I mean, the playoffs this year are definitely bringing out something special. Some guys were pretty much used to, but I think all in all, everybody has ramped it up. It's definitely stepped it up a notch. You got Steph scoring 50, the other night in that Game 7, a must win, and we're going to get into that. You got Jimmy Butler going off, and I know he said there's no real, playoff Jimmy, but clearly that's not the case. We also have to talk about Dillon Brooks, right? He's got a lot more going on besides just poking bears now, because now Memphis, they said under no circumstances, right? Under any circumstances are they letting him come back. Are they going to re-sign with him? And honestly, from a visiting marketing standpoint, I'm not surprised. Maybe some people were surprised by it. Maybe some people, are just hoping that he doesn't get blackballed. I don't think it'll come to that necessarily, but this is something that he needed to go through. I mean, we can go back to last year when it was Memphis and Golden State, and how that was such a hard foul. And Gary Payton II was out for a while, right? Because he ended up, the way he pushed him, and he ended up falling on that elbow. See, those things matter, guys. I know a lot of y'all are probably like, it was isolated incident. And maybe it would have just stayed an isolated incident if he wasn't going around literally poking bears. I mean, he got into it with Donovan Mitchell, hitting guys, in the nether regions, I don't know what it's been about these playoffs where that's been going on too. Hopefully we can stop talking about that and kind of concentrate more on the game, but it's just things like that, they add up. It's just all the talking and the non-production part, because when guys talk, it's like, all right, but are you able to back it up? Because if you're not able to back it up, then I mean, this is sports. This is, this is not some type of drama. We're not just here just to hear you talk and not produce on the floor, because then it's just what are you doing? What are we doing here, right? So he needed this. Everybody has that lesson, and I'm not even trying to be hard on him saying that he doesn't deserve a job in the NBA. By no means. He will get another job. We can all relax with that. But given the fact that Memphis already had a lot of issues, dealing with Ja Morant, his off the court stuff, because obviously his on the court stuff, he's solid. We already know what we're getting out of Ja Morant, but it was more the off court issues, and we don't really off the court issues, and we don't really need to get into that because that's not important. Mainly because he was given a punishment, he served that punishment, so there's no need to keep, going crazy about it. But it did in a way set a precedence for that team and how they want to further conduct themselves. They're trying to get that negative connotation away from Memphis as far as possible, because I'm sure that can't be good for business, guys. Like, I know a lot of people that don't really understand the business world and don't understand that how that can affect money. Yeah, it does. If you know anything about sponsorships, and there's a lot of contracts, and a lot of these companies are family companies, and they're not trying to hear all that. They're really not. And Dylan Brooks with the camera guy, right? He pushed him. Like, it wasn't just him upsetting LeBron, because I know a lot of people was like, oh, you upset LeBron, and and that's kind of what happened. Like, no, it was a multitude of things. It escalated and it led to this. So I don't want anybody to think like, oh, you say one bad thing against LeBron, and no, it had, honestly, like, it had very little to do with any of that. I'm sure Memphis was already evaluating these things when they were, whenever they're looking to re-sign guys, any team, you're always evaluating the benefits versus the risk. Now, if you look at Dylan Brooks' numbers, look at his impact on winning versus what's been going on off the court, or even after the whistle, if you want to say, it's just been, it's disproportionate. So it no longer makes sense. And when it no longer makes sense, they're not going to re-sign you. And that's pretty much what happened there. And I totally agree. And he'll be better for it, because I still want him to be him, but just mature a bit. Know that being too much of you sometimes it's just not the way to go when you're working for other people, guys. Especially if you're not producing. I can see if he was, scoring a ton of points and, playing defense, within the confines of the rules, and the team was winning. But you're not winning. You're getting sent home early. Like, nobody is trying to hear that. So that's just where that is. But you guys can feel free and comment and let me know what you think about that, or most people probably would agree, but what do you think is a good landing spot? I know a lot of people were saying the Rockets, but I'm not trying to send him to a young locker room. He needs to be around guys who get it, who's been around, who's lived a little, understand what it means to be a professional athlete. I remember listening to NBA on Sirius Radio, and it was really good talk with Antonio Davis, and he pretty much said, he didn't really grow up, when he left, I believe it was the Pacers, and then he went to San Antonio, and when he learned from all these different guys, David Robinson, and remember how I talked about the other day how we really don't talk about other guys that had a huge impact on the game, because if you're not like a Steph Curry or Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, MJ, your name kind of gets forgotten. But anyway, when you have your David Robinsons, your Tim Duncans, and, all these guys that know what it means to be a professional, like really gets it. And it doesn't mean that they're not flawed individuals. It doesn't mean that they didn't make any mistakes. It just meant that they knew about how to go about their business, from a day-to-day, in a routine, and they still did what they needed to do, obviously, if you remember. But yeah, something like that. So yeah, if you guys have any other landing spot ideas of where you think he should land, like, let me know, and I'll maybe talk about it in my next episode. But yeah, he had it coming, guys. But guys, let's talk about what happened with the Celtics, though. Let's get into that, because I told you guys, well, if you guys have been listening in my other episodes, I've told you there's just something off about Boston. It's just something. I'm not going to completely put it on Joe Mazzulla, because that cannot be easy, him having to, man the helm when he did, under the circumstances in which he did, and deal with this season, which has been very inconsistent, very up and down. You just couldn't get really a sense of where this team is headed and what their, obviously we know what their goal is from a roster standpoint, right? Not to mention they were just in the finals and they looked like they were right there, right? Just missing a thing or two, and then when they got Brogdon in the off season, you're kind of like shaking your head like, oh, okay, like you guys are getting it, but one thing I can say for sure is Derek White needs more minutes, especially at the end of the game. And I don't want to disrespect Marcus Smart, man, because he's definitely the heart and soul of that team. He's definitely a leader. He's definitely a vocal leader. He does all the dirty work. He does whatever the team needs, right? But sometimes down the stretch, the decision making, and you can see it, like even at the, like last night, half the time it just leaves you sitting there trying to figure out, what were you thinking? Like, what were you thinking? This is a team in the Boston Celtics that are playing at home. The opposition is not playing with their best player, who happens to be the MVP of the league. Now, I'm not spilling the beans. I know they're supposed to announce it tonight, but I'm sure it's going to be Embiid. I really don't see it going any other way. You know, and he's not playing. Like, yeah, did we all think that James Harden was going to go off for, like, what, 45, whatever he... Yeah, no, nobody thought that. But he did. And to think that he's not capable of that, it just means that we're not paying attention. Nobody was reading the scouting report. I know scouting reports get updated based off of, you know, recency bias, based off of what he's been doing. But honestly, you can't really go by that. I mean, you should know the guy's resume. You should know what he's capable of. He doesn't play like that anymore because there's not a need to. You know, they have Maxey, you have Tobias Harris, and obviously you have Embiid. It doesn't mean that he won't score. I mean, you already know Harden can give you 15, 20, and then like 12 assists. That's kind of like his role, and help out with rebounding. He's there for his team in whatever aspect they need him in. Just scoring is not what they need him. But last night, they needed every bit of his scoring. And you can see it. I mean, he came with a purpose. Pause. But that... Oh, man, just watching the end of that game, knowing that they put Al Horford on him, and I'm just like, you don't even need to be, like, a serious, you know, basketball purist or, you know, an analysis or a coach or anything. Like, you really don't. In order to know, wow, that matchup was not working all game in the Boston Celtics' favor. So why in the heck would I keep putting Al Horford on Harden, who's having the playoff game of his career, in which people always criticized him and saying that he never shows up in the playoffs, you know, for all these different reasons, and whether he chokes, whether it's injury, whatever people want to say, you know, and people forget, like, James Harden is that dude. And I'm glad that he had one of those games where he can sit there and say, yeah, in case y'all forgot, like, this is what I'm capable of doing any night. And my team just happened to need me to do this tonight. And that's what I did. And, I mean, that three, man, I mean, it was just cold-blooded. But that's the sexy play. That's the play that we're going to look back and say, oh, that's what won the game. Honestly, if we're being completely honest, and I really like the Celtics. I like Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart and Jason Tatum. Like, I like what they have there. I like their core, and I like how they have a little bit of vets there. You know, it's a little bit of everything, and they have a deep team that can obviously not only go to the finals, they can win a chip with this team. Like, there's nothing else that they need. They're set. Maybe some, I'm sorry, Joe Mazzulla, but some better coaching in the end of those games, you know, and I don't want to go too crazy on coaches, you know, or, you know, anybody for that matter without really knowing the whole story, knowing what's going on. And I bring that up because, you know, shout out to Budenhauser, and can't imagine what that man is going through. And if you don't know, during the Miami Heat series, you know, he lost his brother due to a fatal car accident. And, you know, prayers up to him, his family, those who loved and knew him. You know, I can't imagine going through something like that and still coaching, you know. So there were some questionable decisions throughout that series that we were definitely wondering. And, well, you got your answer. And most of us wouldn't have even been there, you know. So the fact that he had the courage to, you know, not only coach, not only show up for his team, you know, he showed that it mattered. So for all those who were calling for his job and, you know, going crazy, let's pump the brakes. So I'm not saying, like, anything like that's going on with Joe Mazzulla, but I'm trying to, you know, just give a perspective on, I don't know everything. Like, I don't know exactly what's going on that that in those moments where you can sit there and try to figure out like what was going on in his mind, trying to, make those plays. And that out of bounds play, I know a lot of people are definitely perplexed about that one, because I'm still trying to figure that out. Where the ball ended up in Marcus Smart's hands instead of Jason Tatum's hands or Jaylen Brown's hand. I heard Jaylen Brown was like 80% from the field. He was like 8 for 10. Why was Jaylen Brown not more in the offense? Now, don't get me wrong. Jason Tatum had it going. I mean, 39, 11, 6. His numbers were spectacular. Just what the Celtics needed. He definitely got the memo. He came out. He was aggressive. He did exactly what he needed to do, whether Embiid was playing or not. Now, I'm just saying Jaylen Brown had it going, too. You got to be able to get this man involved. You have to. And that's what makes me pause when it comes to championship aspirations, as it pertains to the Celtics. Because they just don't, it's something about them that just doesn't seem right. They have a hard time closing out series. We saw it with the Atlanta series. That should have never went that long. That should have been time for them to rest, regroup, look at some film. Really, especially Joe Mazzulla, right? This is his first time coaching in the playoffs. So this would have been a really good time for them to really kind of have a break, instead of going right back into another series. And I think that's what Philly's doing. Philly's playing with a different type of mindset. Nobody really has them beaten, the Celtics. But I don't know. I kind of said I can see it happening. It's just certain things you just see in teams, and chemistry matters. And when I see it, I'm just like, I don't know how Jaylen Brown's feeling. I'm not trying to get in his head, and Tatum and all these guys. But I'm just talking about for me personally. I just don't see a team that's on the same page. I don't see Marcus Smart gelling with the rest of these guys, in terms of Tatum and Brown. I feel like there's something there. There's something missing. There's something that they need to hash out. I don't know if they will after this game, and hopefully we'll see a different result. But I don't know, man. I just feel like James Harden and these boys are on a mission, and they're gonna accomplish it. I know a lot of people don't believe in them, but I mean, it's not for us to believe. We just have to watch and see what happens, because it's not looking all that great. But to get back to the Knicks series, listen, guys. As a lifetime Knicks fan, of course I would love for them to get past this series. But if I'm being objective, they can get past this series for a couple of reasons. They do have a nice bench, right? They do, but I just think that the rotation's a bit off. I know a lot of people have been saying, I've been talking to a lot of Knicks fans. A lot of you guys want to see Fournier out there. I heard some Derrick Rose and things of that nature. But one thing I can say is, yes, veteran leadership in these moments definitely matter, because you can kind of see how the Knicks sort of collapsed, and they kind of needed somebody on the floor to kind of say, whoa, let's calm down, let's relax, let's figure this out. Let's not get in over our heads here. And let's not also get into this place where I felt like we got into that in the first series, where we're just lucky to be here. We're not lucky to be here. We earned it. We're here for a reason. So we need to just settle down, and I think we're going to definitely see some more poise and more smarter plays. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't mind seeing Fournier out there, but also, guys, we can't just start plugging guys and just throwing them out there. I don't know how they are in practice. I don't know if they're up to speed, and I know guys are supposed to stay ready, next man up. I get all that, but I have to at least say to myself that there's a reason. There's a reason why they're on the bench. I have to. I don't know if it's a chemistry thing. I don't know if it's just not maybe not this series. Maybe it's just a matchup. I don't know. But I feel like with Fournier, I can tell you right now, you are giving up defense. So that could be a reason too. But I would like to see McBride have more minutes. I would like him to see have more minutes, mainly because he's that 3-and-D guy. He's that guy that will guard your best player. And when Jimmy Butler's out there, obviously this doesn't pertain to tonight because he won't be playing, but you do want to have a guy like Jimmy Butler, at least for the future, you want to give him different looks. So it's going to be a total team effort. You're going to want to put McBride on him. You're going to have R.J. Barrett on him. You know what I mean? And just so guys don't get too tired. Because Jimmy keeps going for these 40, 45-point games, 50-point games. You know, like I can see him doing that. Like that's light work. I think that they wanted to at least take a game, you know, in New York, which they did. And now they have a chance to rest Jimmy, so that way he can get treatment and get to where he needs to be, so that way he can be suited up and ready for Game 3. Well, I'm almost sure that that's exactly what they're doing. But we still can't let up, though. We can't think for 2 seconds that just because Jimmy Butler's not playing, that the Miami Heat will not come in New York and pop us in the mouth, because that would definitely happen. I have faith in Eric Spoelstra. You know, UD is still on the bench, and I'm sure he's in this guy's ears letting them know, like, listen, we're not letting up. We're not giving them this game. Like, that's not happening. So we still need guys like, and shout out to RJ Barrett, man. You've really stepped up. Ever since everybody pretty much tried to just take you out of the playoffs, you've arrived, my friend. You've done everything that we've needed you to do. I'm glad you're very aggressive, not just on the defensive end, but on the offensive end, especially when we needed it the most. Obi Toppin, I love the way he's been playing. Offense, I love it. I mean, Harvey Stein, these guys are battling. They're battling. They're working hard. We just got to make smarter decisions. We got to kill the turnovers. The turnovers are costly. You know, once you get to the playoffs, you know, everything slows down. The margin forever is just thin, man. It's a game of runs, and we have to be able to withstand those runs. We can go on a run, that's cool. Just expect them to go on a run too. You know, and once they do, we have to be able to withstand it. We have to be able to make smarter decisions, right? Make those timely timeouts. I think Thibodeau missed some key moments where he could have called a timeout to kind of stop their run and kind of get us back into our offense. You know, set a good play, get guys involved. So we'll see. We didn't have Julius Randle last game. Hopefully we have him this game. And if we don't, either way, Brunson, and he didn't have a good game 1. He definitely didn't have a good game. So Brunson's not going to have 2 bad games in a row. Brunson's going to get it together. We can't be looking for fouls, guys. I know, trust me, I think every Knicks fan is yelling at the screen every time they see Brunson on the floor and not one whistle being blown. Trust me, I know. We're yelling for you. You know, they can't hear me through the TV, but trust me, we're there. We're in it with you. But at the same time, you can't just be talking to them the whole game. It serves no purpose. And then when you get a technical foul, obviously you already know what it is. Like it's just insult to injury at that point. You know, we just got to stay poised. We got to do what we need to do and just get it done and not do too much. You know. But listen, I will be remiss if I didn't speak on this. Giannis Antetokounmpo, my man. I know, gone in the first round. I know a lot of people were just stunned, right? I think that's the best way to put it. But his speech, though, at the end of that game, you know, there's no failure in sports. Like, I love it. I love the mindset because it reminds me of what Kobe would say, right? That it's not necessarily, not saying that the season, I mean, obviously, when you add up all their seasons and you look at it, you're going to say this wasn't the best. You know, you're built to win championships, so this wasn't the best, you know. Failure, yeah, failure is it just depends on how you look at it. Would I say it's a failure? No, because nobody expected Giannis to have a ring anyway, right? I'm sure if this was a couple years ago, you know, and we're assuming if Embiid was healthy, I think most people probably wouldn't have thought that Giannis would have had a ring first, because most people were thinking there was no way Giannis was going to win a ring in Milwaukee. A lot of y'all were swearing by that. A lot of y'all didn't even want Giannis to sign, right? So, you know, and they wanted Budenholzer out as well. Like, I remember all that. So it's like, you know, it was just so it was just so perfectly put, just because it just puts everything into a nice, healthy perspective. And people are going to say whatever they want, and they normally do, right? You can't control that, but you can control his mindset and how he views things. Honestly, I think he was telling us, though, is a chance that he may not stay in Milwaukee. I think that's something you can kind of surmise out of that. That's what I'd be thinking. But I'm not gonna get into where I think he's going. I have no idea, or even if he's going anywhere. I'm just saying. I just think he was kind of looking at the entire Milwaukee Bucks, his stint there, or just their history in general in terms of championships and success and all these different things, and how he was, even equated it to Michael Jordan, how, Michael Jordan, spent 15 years in the league, and when he won 6 championships, 9 of them, 9 of those years of failure. I mean, that was just brilliant. And then when he even made it personal, I know he eventually he apologized for making it personal, but sometimes people just seem to, lack empathy, right? So, which is fine. So in order to get people to understand, sometimes you have to put it into their language, right? So he did that. He had to make it personal just for the sake of argument, right? Because he couldn't understand, because I'm sure he asked the question, do you think this season is a failure? I'm sure he asked that because he felt like it was, right? Or he thinks a lot of people might have felt like it was. So he made it more relatable. Okay, at your job, do you get a promotion every year? No. But does it mean that this year is a failure? No, of course not. Because you do have goals. There are things that you work towards, right? You have a salary, there are things you're trying to earn, maybe go on vacation, buy a house for your kids, parents, what have you. Whatever those goals are, you're still working towards them, regardless. Whether you were able to achieve it that year or not. And I thought that was just perfect. It was just perfect. Like, well done, Giannis. Like, that's a mature young man. That's a young man who gets it, But also I was actually thinking, I'm actually just thinking about this as I'm talking to you all. A good landing spot for Dillon Brooks. I could see Miami. A lot of people would say, oh, Miami wouldn't put up with that. Exactly. They wouldn't put up with it. But what I can tell you is he's not like that with his teammates, at least as far as I know. It's just the other opponents. But I feel like maybe under, Spo and Pat Riley's tutelage, maybe, he can mature and sort of harness that energy that he has. Because, I mean, that energy that he has, I mean, it did make the NBA fun. I'm not going to front. But I just think, obviously, in a lot of occasions, he just took it way too far, right? But an organization like that, I think that's what we're kind of looking for. But I know everybody wants to talk about the big game. Y'all want to talk about the rivalry that everybody keeps calling between Steph and LeBron, right? It's not even a team rivalry. It's just between Steph and LeBron, right? Because Steph's on the same team, but, LeBron was with the Cavs, So it's an interesting conversation to have. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be an awesome series. Klay Thompson said he's been waiting for forever. LeBron, he respects Steph, and you saw the game that Steph put on, and Steph had that fantastic, speech before that Game 7, letting people know, if you don't believe in us, you can stay home, and just letting guys know, like, listen, trust me, trust us, and he put his team on their back, and the fact that he said that speech before he put up 50 in that game was it was masterful. It just makes you really think, like, man, was that Steph's best playoff game? I know some people would say, nah, it was last year. Let's not fall into that recency bias. But this is one of his... But that's a game that they needed to win. Like, that was an elimination game. Like, that's a game that you can't come back from. Like, that... He needed to do that. You know what I mean? In terms of, like, okay, yeah, he had a good game, in, like, a game 3 or 4. But, you still have a chance to do it again. If you didn't have that game in Game 7... Nah. Because when Steph gets going, like, just look at the body language of teams. It's like they don't even want to play anymore. It's like Steph just takes all the fun out of it. So, yeah, am I looking forward to that series? Absolutely. Do I think Golden State's going to win? Yeah, that's going to be a nice long one, guys. Prepare for a nice Game 7. That's gonna be masterful as well. I hope it's not lopsided victories. I can kind of see one or two lopsided victories on either side, actually. The matchups are going to be crazy. They're going to figure out how to defend Steph. But it's when you're dealing with great players, some nights it's going to work and other nights it's not. It really just depends, right? But, you know, LeBron is no stranger to Steph, and he respects him, so he understands what he's capable of doing. It just really depends on Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is always going to be the X factor in every single series that the Lakers have. Yes, D'Angelo Russell too. He's been stepping up big. I know he's been inconsistent, but I mean, it's different when you put on that purple and gold. It's a different expectation. So, but I like how D'Angelo Russell isn't. He's not shying away from it either. You know, you guys have Dennis Schroeder. You guys have a lot of, you know, Hachimura has been playing really well. What do you guys call that? AR-15, you know, Austin Reeves, man, he's solid, man. Austin Reeves is solid. You guys have a squad, man. You guys have a squad. It's going to be a long series. We're just going to sit back and relax and enjoy it. I'm not going to rush it to be over, because once it's over, you know, it's just closer to not having basketball anymore. And it's like, it's bad enough, you know, football is already done. Like, I know we have the XFL, but you know what I mean? So, yeah, but New York Knicks, we gotta get this win. We have to get this win. I said we were gonna do this in 6 games. Don't make a liar out of me, because we're not. Because to win 4 in a row against Miami, knowing Jimmy's gonna be back, we have to capitalize on this. We have to get going. We have to get Brunson going early. Hopefully he's aggressive and just not taking anything for granted. And man, Mitchell Robinson, I have to give you your flowers, man. What you did with rebounding and putbacks we needed it, and we're gonna need it even more than anything. But guys, before I forget, the series that somehow always gets put on the back burner, right? It's like we don't. Anyway, shout outs to Denver. Denver is doing their thing, from Gordon to Michael Porter Jr. to Murray to, of course, Jokic. Jokic is, I mean, what did he do? Like 39 and 11 last night. And there was another triple-double. Jokic is that dude. I don't know what y'all want me to say. Jokic is that dude. They're beating up on the Suns. The Suns, they need time. They need time. I know everybody just hears, you know, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and you got KD. When you hear those names and on paper, it looks great. But everybody knows you need a bench in the playoffs. That's going to get you, you know, to some nice, you know, regular season wins, nice win streaks. But in the playoffs, bro, like, these guys got to be rested. They need someone to still hold the lead or hold the fort when these guys get out. And they don't have that. They don't have enough. And I don't think that's going to be enough to get past Denver. I know people are holding strong with the Suns, and the Suns they're dominant, but I'm not sleeping on Denver no more. I said I didn't believe in Denver, but you know what? After watching these 2 games and what doing, like just watching what they've been doing and what their game plan has been, and not to mention, you know, the coach has been letting them know, like, listen, nobody's picking y'all to win this series. Nobody. Nobody thinks you're coming out of this series. Nobody thinks you guys are gonna be in the Western Conference Finals. It doesn't mean that it doesn't matter that you guys have a 2-time MVP champion. It doesn't matter that Murray, you know, was doing his thing, because everybody just thinks it was just one of those things that he did because it was a bubble, you know, back in, you know, 2020. They're just not giving these guys enough respect, you know, and that's a shame. And that's a shame, and I admit it too. I wasn't giving them the total respect that they needed. Listen, they definitely have my respect. It is what it is. And listen, right now, I'm watching TNT. So yeah, they're about to announce the MVP of the league. And yes, it's a regular season award. So I know a lot of people watching, you know, the playoffs like, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah, I'm looking at the trophy. The trophy looks nice. The trophy looks nice, y'all. But I'm gonna stay on here just for a little bit longer, just so I can announce to y'all who won it. But man, Knicks, y'all gotta do y'all thing. That's it. That's all I'm asking you to do. And just so you guys know, the finalists were Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, and Nikola Jokic. Okay? So these are the three that they're picking, right? That they're picking amongst. And I told you I thought it was Embiid. I thought it was Embiid for a minute. I just needed him to stay healthy. That was the main thing for me. I told you the reason why I voted for Nikola last year is because what he was doing last year, it just hasn't never been done. And you got to give props where props is due. So that was ultimately the reason. But Embiid, what he's been doing on both sides of the ball, not to mention on the defensive end, not to mention on the offensive end, because he can give you the three, he can give you the midi, you know, he can, and obviously you already know what he'll do in the middle, in the paint, you know. So we patiently watching. Charles Barkley is about to read it. Let's see what it is. I think he said Embiid. Did he say Embiid? Come on, man. You gotta announce it. Charles Barkley, man. You already know. But yeah, man. You already know. I only ask y'all to do one thing. Just remember this. Losses equals life lessons. Peace.
Gotta be true to yourself. In a world there's nothing else. Gotta play the game right, gotta make your path. You scratch, you dig, you lay on your ground. You bustin' your rounds, nobody gon' stop you. No ops, no cops, everything about you. Looking good, you good, she good. Y'all people really wanna know the reason? It's that ripple effect. That's just that ripple. That's just that ripple effect. What you do, come back triple.